Okay, I'm about to tell you something. And look, it might sound a bit harsh, but I promise it's meant to be helpful. Here it is. Your life isn't complicated. Your brain just profits from making it feel that way. You know, we treat life like this massive, complex puzzle. Money, success, happiness, it all seems so incredibly hard. But the uncomfortable truth is, most of these problems have solutions that are almost embarrassingly simple. Want to be healthy? Eat better, move more, get some sleep. But because that answer is, well, kind of boring, we reject it. We go searching for a secret hack, a magic pill, a 47-step morning routine from some guru.
And that right there, that's the real trap. The search for complexity became the complexity. Life was pretty simple the whole time. We were the ones who turned the search for an answer into this giant, winding maze.
So, how do we escape this maze we've built for ourselves? Well, we start by understanding the strange, almost counterintuitive rules that are actually running our lives.
This brings us to a paradox that honestly runs your entire life. The harder you try to cling to something, the more you end up losing it. I mean, just think about it. Have you ever tried to force yourself to fall asleep? It never works, right? The more you try, the more awake you feel. Chase happiness, and it just runs faster. We see this all the time. Desperate people seem to repel opportunities. Needy people can accidentally crush relationships. Every athlete knows they perform worse when they overthink and try too hard. What actually works is action without desperation. It's about effort, but without that white-knuckled death grip on the outcome.
This whole idea actually has a name. Philosophers call it the backwards law. And what it means is that life seems to reward the relaxed. But let's be super clear here. There's a massive difference between being relaxed and just being lazy.
And this leads us to what I think is life's favorite little joke, the control paradox. The more you try to control every single thing, the less control you actually have. You can plan every minute, organize every little detail, and then boom, life throws a random curveball, and your perfect plan goes right out the window.
You know, this isn't some new idea. The ancient Stoic philosophers figured this out 2,000 years ago. They taught that you don't control the traffic, but you absolutely control what time you leave the house. You don't control what other people think of you, but you control your own integrity. When you boil it all down, the only things you truly have power over are your actions and your reactions. That's it. That's the list.
And this just brilliantly illustrates the happiness trap. Happiness is maybe the only goal we have that actually disappears when you chase it directly. It's not a destination, it's a byproduct. It comes from living a meaningful life, from making progress, from connection, from contribution, not from just consuming more stuff.
Okay, so if these external laws are kind of working against us, what's happening internally? Well, it turns out our own brains follow a set of secret rules that we almost always ignore.
Now, this is going to sound like something straight out of science fiction, but it is 100% real. While you're in deep sleep, this fluid literally washes through your brain tissue, clearing out all the metabolic junk that builds up during the day. Your brain actually shrinks just a little bit to make space for this cleaning crew to come in. So when you're sleep deprived, you're not just lazy, you're literally trying to think inside a messy, cluttered office. And this brings us to a really critical realization. Your brain is not a truth machine, it's a pattern machine. It runs all these little filters, like confirmation bias, where you only seem to notice the evidence that already agrees with you, or the halo effect, where you assume an attractive person must also be smart and kind, or loss aversion, where losing $20 hurts way more than finding $20 feels good.
The scariest part about all this is that you can't just turn these biases off. They're built in, but you can learn to spot them. So the only real hack, if you can even call it that, is to pause. Whenever you feel absolutely 100% certain about something, just ask yourself, which bias might be talking right now?
And that pause is so crucial, because here's a truth people really hate to hear. About 90% of our decisions are emotional. We then use that last 10% to come up with some logical justification for what we already decided to do. Your rational mind isn't driving the car, it's just narrating the ride from the passenger seat.
See, your emotions are just data. That's all they are. They are not instructions. Your real power, your real ability to change, lies in the pause, that tiny little space between feeling an impulse and acting on it. That is where your life truly changes.
So if we understand these backwards laws and we know about our brain's hidden rules, how do we actually put that knowledge to work? Simple. We do it by building simple systems that work for us, instead of us constantly working against ourselves. This all starts with the 80-20 principle. The math might be a little painful to think about, but it's true. 20% of what you do creates 80% of your results.
20% of your habits are probably causing 80% of your problems. And on the flip side, 20% of your relationships are creating 80% of your joy. The real key to life is to identify that vital 20% and then guard it like a fortress.
And this is where habits come into play. See, you don't really have bad habits. What you have are perfectly functioning loops that just happen to have terrible outcomes. Every single habit has a cue, a routine, and a reward. And here's the secret. You can't really delete a habit, but you can replace the routine as long as you keep the cue and the reward the same.
So why does this stuff matter so much? Because of the compound effect. Getting just 1% better each day doesn't sound like a big deal, but as you can see from this chart, it is absolutely life-changing over time. Those tiny little choices you make every day, they compound into your identity. And that is why building systems is so much more powerful than just sitting around waiting for motivation to strike.
So what's the bottom line? What does this all add up to? Well, all of this, the paradoxes, the brain rules, the systems, it can all be distilled down into a very simple 3-line manual for life.
Here it is. Number 1, accept what you can't control, which, by the way, is almost everything. Number 2, master what you can control, which is just your actions and your reactions. And number 3, compound tiny improvements daily. That's it. Everything else is just commentary.
And I just want to leave you with this one final thought. Your life doesn't change when you discover some profound new secret. It changes when you finally start doing the simple things you already knew you should be doing all along. The real question isn't what you know, it's what you're finally willing to do about it.